Plagues have been around for thousands upon thousands of years. They have infected billions of organisms since life began and have changed the course of history. They have caused the passing of potentially great inventors, ended entire bloodlines, and shaped human history. Therefore, plagues are a deadly but major part of history and life that cannot be ignored. These plagues have created the world we know today, and this is why we should learn all we can about plagues for when the inevitable hits, a new plague. So let's start at number 5 in this list of terrible plagues throughout history. Number 5. The Antonine Plague. Named after the Roman Emperor Marcus Antoninus, who ruled during its outbreak. It began in 165 CE and lasted until 180 CE. The Antonine Plague is also known by the name the Plague of Galen. It was an ancient pandemic that was brought to the Roman Empire by returning soldiers that had travelled from the Near East. It is now thought to have been smallpox or measles that caused this plague, but the cause remains unknown. It is estimated to have infected millions, with around 5 million passing away due to this terrible disease. The pandemic is thought to have decimated the populations of some areas by around 1/3, and the Roman army was severely affected. Symptoms of this pandemic included a fever, vomiting, swollen throat, coughing, and thirstiness. The writer and physician Galen described these symptoms when he was called to investigate and when he witnessed the outbreak firsthand. Nowadays, it is generally believed that the plague threatened the power of the Roman Empire and was one of the causes of the fall of the Western Roman Empire. This had massive effects on the course of history, as a reign of hundreds of years came to an end due to the stresses caused by a deadly disease that decimated an army and a society. Number 4. The Plague of Justinian. The Plague of Justinian happened in the year 541, also in the Roman Empire. This time of great expansion and migration of people around continents led to new diseases spreading through new populations. Rats from an Egyptian boat carrying grain brought pestilence to the Eastern Roman Empire. The plague quickly tore through the empire, with even the emperor being infected. Emperor Justinian I caught the disease, but fortunately he lived. It is estimated that 25 million people passed away throughout the empire. Modern scholars estimate that 5,000 people met their end per day in the capital of Constantinople, now called Istanbul. By the end of this plague, about 40% of the population have fallen to the disease, along with around 1/4 of the Eastern Mediterranean. This led to mass piles of people and the entire empire being threatened. Modern experts think this was the first cause of the infamous bubonic plague. What do you think? Number 3. HIV/AIDS. This case is a pandemic we are still fighting. Medicine in recent years have battled against this terrible affliction, but currently we have not found a cure for HIV/AIDS. It was first recognized as a disease in 1981, with the earliest reported and confirmed case being in 1959 in the Congo. Human immunodeficiency virus infection and acquired immune deficiency syndrome is classed as a spectrum of conditions caused by an attack on the victim's immune system. people might not have any symptoms after infection, but as the infection spreads and the immune system weakens, more diseases can enter the body, such as tuberculosis and other common infections. Weight loss can also follow, along with other horrific medical problems. In 2018, it was estimated that about 37.9 million people were living with HIV, and a further 770,000 people passing away. Since being identified, it is estimated that a global 32 million people have passed away due to this pandemic. Therefore, despite the ongoing history, HIV/AIDS has made it onto this list due to the massive effect the pandemic has had on history and the effects that is still causing on people's lives today. Number 2. The Spanish flu. The influenza of 1918 was an unusually deadly influenza pandemic that became known as the Spanish flu. This pandemic started in January 1918 and ended in December 1920 during the First World War. The name arose due to media censorship in war-struck countries. Therefore, when Spain was infected, it was covered by many major news sources, creating the image that Spain was hit harder than elsewhere. It infected more than 500 million people worldwide, around 27% of the then population of just under 2 billion. It even reached isolated areas such as small Pacific islands and the Arctic. Estimates for the number of people to fall victim ranged from 17 million to as high as 100 million losing their lives during the outbreak. People now think that the tight, inadequate living conditions of the First World War helped create this powerful disease that threatened the lives of many. The Spanish flu mainly affected the stronger, younger adults as it ravaged the stronger immune system with a technique called cytokine storm. Therefore, nobody was safe from this disease at a time when people were too ill prepared to fight the disease. That is why it is number 2 on my list of terrible diseases throughout history. Number 1. The Great Plague. From 1347 to 1351, the Black Plague ravaged Eurasia, creating a number of religious, social, and economic problems that changed the course of history. It is thought that the Black Plague originated from East Asia and travelled to Europe from Western Asia via the famous Silk Road. It happened at a time when the world population was estimated to be at 475 million people. It is estimated that 75 million to 200 million people passed away as a cause of this disease, a massive 30 to 60% of Europe's population at that time. It took another 200 years for Europe's population to recover, and some places like Florence even longer than that. The Great Plague is thought to have travelled from Asia through Italy and into the rest of Europe through people and other animals such as rodents. Other circumstances at the time strengthened the effects of the disease, such as war, famine, and the weather. Many waves of the disease washed over Europe, Asia, parts of Africa, and the Middle East. It affected towns and cities, economies and societies, destroying many groups of people and changing our history. Therefore, the Black Plague made it to number 1 on my list of horrific plagues that have struck the world throughout history. So there we have it, 5 terrible plagues that have shaped history, destroyed cities and damaged continents. Which one did you find the most interesting? Which one was the most terrible and the most horrible? Please discuss in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell for notifications to always be up to date with history from the History Scholar.